Okay, good morning. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Let me just do a quick check. Everyone can hear me and everyone can see video. So just letting everybody get settled in, making sure that everybody can see the presentation as well as hear me. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll just give me a few seconds here to just make sure everything is streaming okay and we're streaming properly. Um, give some give some everybody some last minute, give people some time to jump in real quickly. Okay, so we got this. So hopefully today goes smoothly. We are streaming via YouTube live stream as well as on Skype. This just gives those who might not have Skype around the state or those who have Skype issues another alternative way to join us. And so I've actually started this daily training series as of last week. So I kind of, kept it where if people knew about it, then they would come. And today I did a little bit more advertising on it, just because I've gone through a week of it. So hopefully I've got everything ironed out. But bear with me if some things happen. This is live and on the, so things can happen. But anyway, today's training topic. Thanks everyone for joining. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Micah and I'm the service delivery specialist for the eSign service here for the state of Hawaii. And today's training topic is Basics 101. Now, I just want to let everyone know right off the bat, Basics 101 is literally the basics. If you've used eSign in the past and you're able to use it today without issue, this may not be the training for you. Basics 101 is pretty much oriented to those who are using eSign for the first time or haven't had a chance to use it yet, or also for those who just need a refresher, maybe used it once in the past, a couple months ago, and you kind of forgot about it. Or you're welcome to stay if you want to learn a few things as well. But just please keep in mind this is very basic, and that's why I call it the Basics 101. So just to get started, as everyone knows, or maybe you don't know, so the everything and anything related to the eSign service is directed at one page, and so that page is going to be up here on the top left hand side, esign.hawaii.gov. Now, the eSign website is essentially where you go to access the actual service, where you can go to access training sessions like this. There's how-to videos, things like that. There's statistics. So on the homepage, if we scroll down here, usually I use the top as a notification area. So I announce our trainings, or I also announce maybe if we have outages, things like that. So I always advise people, those of you who are accessing the eSign service, please come through this website before going to the portal, because there might be an important message of the day up here. Now, for those of you who are brand new to us, or maybe who are still just in the beginner stages, I do want to show you some statistics, as this is a good place to start for those who are seeing this for the first time. On our eSign homepage, we have statistics that are updated on a daily basis, and essentially it allows us to be transparent with all of you to show where we are as a state as a whole with the eSign service today. And so as of October 2015 of I guess 2 years now, since then till now, we have sent together as a state 123,000 e-sign transactions. And so, just to give you some data to work off of, what you're using is a service that's been implemented here in the state for over a year now. It's something that's been used on a daily basis. We average, 7,000 e-sign transactions a month. So we're obviously hoping to get that number higher. But it kind of gives you some concrete data that if you are using this for the first time, you are not the first one. You're using a service that has been tried and tested already here in the state, and so hopefully you can find value of it as well. Going back up to the top, just kind of going through this nav bar real quickly. We have the eSign portal, which is the actual eSign service, which is what we're going to focus our demo on today, our training session on. Next, we have how-to videos. Those of you who are looking for a little bit of additional training on specific topics, if you go to the how-to videos link, there is a heap of videos that have been pre-recorded for you to watch. Next, we have the daily web training series, as you guys are all aware of from the email today. Please check back here. If you're ever wondering what topics we have going on, we have all the topics listed here on the bottom. And if you're ever looking for any pre-recorded trainings, you can actually find that here by clicking the All button. Now, I know it's kind of hidden, so I'm probably going to move it out at some point this week. But if you're looking for old videos, just click the All button and you can find videos from previous days where it says, did you miss the training? And if you're interested in watching it, you just click this link and it goes right back to that video recording. But going back to the standard daily web training series, we also have it live streamed here and then the Skype link here. I totally recommend you guys join via Skype because it allows you guys to ask questions. Because I won't be answering any questions for those who watch from the YouTube side. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. So jumping into the eSign portal, all of you as state employees have already been pre-licensed to access the eSign service by simply being a state employee with a @hawaii.gov email address. So as long as you have a @hawaii.gov email address, you should be able to access the eSign service. Now you're just going to log in with your username. So it's normally going to be like your name @hawaii.gov, and then the password is actually the same password as um, your email. So we don't manage or create any user accounts. We are directly tied to your Office 365 email address. So if you don't know your password, um, please make sure you contact your IT for a password reset or anything like that, because I do not manage any of these passwords. So once you go ahead and get logged in with your with your username, all of you will come up to your own eSign portal. Now, the way I explain the eSign portal is, think of the eSign service as your personal assistant, and your assistant's job is to help you get any document signed with a signature with any person with an email address. So pretty much what that means is, if you have a document that you need signed by, for instance, your boss, instead of doing it the old way in paper, you can now get any document signed electronically through the eSign service. And so this is a completely um, legal way for you to obtain a signature. And so since this is a basic training, let me just pull up one slide here before we continue. Sorry I didn't have this ready to go. Let me just pull this up real quickly. So there's one slide I want to showcase here, and that's going to be about the legal aspect. So I want to let you know that before I ask you to use a service, I want to make sure that you feel comfortable understanding what you can do with it. Sorry, this is the wrong one. Okay. Okay. So in here, we're gonna just review this slide real quickly. So legality, I just want to let you know, hopefully all of you know what an HRS is, so a Hawaii Revised Statute. 489E states, if a law requires a signature, an electronic signature satisfies the law. And so this is an HRS already in place. Pretty much in English, what this means is, any state document that you need signed, you can now use the eSign service to obtain the signature electronically. We made a lot of security appliances, industry security standards like HIPAA, IRS, SSAE, and many more underneath. These are just the top three. So essentially, in a bubble, what that means is, no matter what document you send, whether it has PII or whether it has sensitive information that you only want a certain person to see, that's okay, because the eSign service respects that security and upholds that, because not even myself or the eSign service team or the tech team, nobody has access to any of your documents that you send for signature other than you and the person that you're asking to get it signed from. Okay. So we can close that off. If you have any more questions on that, you can follow up with me after the training, things like that. Those of you who are joining Skype, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat. I'll try to make sure I check every once in a while. Gary has something where he can't see the video. If you're having Skype video trouble, just go to the eSign website and watch us via the live stream. That should help as well. Okay, so going back here, so how do I send a document out for signature? That's one of the most basic things, right? Is you're going to have a document. Let me open one up right now. So I'm going to open up my Word document here, and it's called example memo. So essentially, it looks like a memo. It's got a whole bunch of mumble jumble in the middle, doesn't mean anything, and it has a signature line here at the bottom. Now, I just want to make it clear that there is no such thing as an e-sign document. There is no such thing as an e-sign format. Essentially, you can get any document that you have, whether it's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, picture, PDF, things like that, and you can you can send that out for signature through the eSign service. So just think of the eSign service as a person almost. This person is going to grab your document from you electronically, send it to somebody to sign. Okay. So after you're done typing out whatever your document is and you're ready to now send this out for signature, you're just going to click File, Save, and then save it wherever you want. Okay. So I'm just going to close this because I already have it saved. Now going back to the eSign service, when I'm logged in, the first thing I'm going to do is click the Send button. This is going to show you how do I send a document for signature. And so there's some outage notifications that are coming up this next weekend or this weekend. So don't worry about that. It's on a Saturday. So the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to identify your signer by their email address. So the email address can be anything. Although when using with state employees, you want to make sure that you're using their at hawaii.gov email address. But if you're using it with you know, public constituents, so uncle and auntie who come into your office to sign a form, you can send it to their personal email address. It's only when we as state employees are doing state work, we want to make sure that we use our work email address. Okay. So let me just check. We got some comments here. No camera looking at the video, but there's no sound. Sorry. So I'm answering a question. There's some issues with those who are joining via Skype. And so if you're unable to join via Skype, please join via the web browser. Usually that seems to clear things up. Sorry, I'm unable to troubleshoot it right now. Okay, so when we get to the send page, we are going to type in our recipient's email address. So let's say my boss's name is Tip. Then I'm going to send it to this guy named Tip at hawaii.gov. And we also have email caching in here, which means as long as you sent it to this person before, the email will always be cached from that point on. So please feel free to watch a video on email caching if you have any questions about that. Okay. So let's say that document that I showed you, not only do I want my boss to sign it, but maybe you need to sign it yourself. The only reason why I'm showing you these two scenarios in one is that probably more than likely you're only going to ask your boss to sign, but I'll show you both since I can do them both at once, and you can just eliminate yourself if you don't need to sign yourself. So you could type in your own email address, but what I'm going to do is use the Add Me button here on the right hand side. So what that does is it types my email for me, test TSSB, that's this account name, and it puts myself in here. But what you want to realize is that as you're starting to type in emails, you have a number that's appearing on the left hand side. What this is telling you is this is the order that your documents will be sent in, which means it'll go to Tip first. If and when Tip signs, then it'll be sent to you. So in most cases, that actually doesn't make sense because you're probably going to sign this document yourself first. Because normally when we need to sign documents, we'll sign it ourselves before giving it to our boss. So instead of retyping the emails, what you can actually do is go over to the white space next to your name, and you can just simply drag yourself up to the top, making yourself number one and making Tip number two. So this means it goes in order. It goes to myself first to sign, then it goes to my boss named Tip. Okay. So part of the basic training, I also do want to mention that you have signer roles next to each person's name. So by default, everyone is listed as a signer, shown by the fountain pen here. Okay. But what these role differences mean is that when you have someone listed as a signer, that means you need this person to absolutely sign your document with a full signature. Versus if we make someone an approver, it shows by a check mark. That means that this person, I don't need them to sign it. I just need them to click an approve button saying I approve. Or if you're looking for someone to just initial your document, you need to make them an approver. Because if you only on the next screen, you'll see how I can add signature fields and initial fields, and this will all make sense in a second. If we don't make someone an approver first, and you drag and drop only an initial field, that means the system is going to force this person to sign at the bottom of your document. So some of you may have run into that error, and hopefully now you know what might be causing that. Okay? So I'm going to actually make Micah an approver, and I'm going to make my boss name Tip. So once you've determined your signers by their emails, you can go ahead and scroll down. The next thing that I ask you for is the agreement name. What do you want to call this document? So let's say you're sending a document to your boss named Tip. Tip's going to receive an email saying, hey, Micah has sent you a document um, called document name for you to sign. And so essentially, I normally advise our users that you can skip that, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop this Word document that I just opened into this drag and drop area to upload it to the eSign service. You'll notice that it takes that name. So if you name your documents correctly on your machine, you can actually save yourself a step and not have to type this name. But let's say example memo is a junk name and you do want to change it, you can always highlight it and then change it to whatever you want. So let's just call it form ABCD just for the heck of it, right? So you saw that I uploaded by dragging and dropping this example memo. But what you can also do too is if you're not comfortable with the drag and drop option, you can use the add files option here. Say choose file from my computer and then find the file that you want to upload from your machine. So that also works as well. As you heard me mention earlier, the eSign service intakes many of your different document types that you use today, whether it be Word, Excel, PowerPoint, pictures, or PDFs. So let's say I wanted to grab this routing sheet as a PDF. I can drag and drop that in here as well, and I now have a Word and a PDF back to back. And that's completely okay because there is no such thing as an e-sign format. You're just sending any document that you want for signature. And just because I upload two documents doesn't mean I necessarily need both of them signed. I might be one of them might be supplemental reading, and the routing slip might be the actual contract that I want this person to sign. So to keep things simple today, I'm just going to upload a single Word document and I'm going to send it to these two people. Now I'm just going to pause for a second. Does anybody on Skype have any questions? Okay, so hopefully everybody, I'll take the silence as a no questions thing. So hopefully everybody can still hear me. Moving on. So once you've done typing in the emails, naming your document, then uploading it, the next thing you're going to do is click the next button here at the bottom left. Okay. And so what this is going to do is you're now uploading your document to your assistant. You're giving your Word document to your assistant. And now your assistant's going to ask you a simple question of where does each person sign, right? Where does Micah sign or initial, and where does Tip sign? So here's my Word document that I just showed you earlier today. And so I have a signature line down here, and maybe I want Micah to initial up here at the top, right? So I'm going to show you how this works. So on the top left-hand side, you have a select participants dropdown. And in here, you're going to have all the emails that you've entered on the previous screen. So you'll notice that I have two emails in here, approved by ETS test account, which is this test TSSB email account. And then I also have something that says eSign by this guy named Tip. And so any of the emails that you enter on the previous screen come up as a participants here. Why does this matter? The reason why is when you select ETS test account, which means myself, where do I want to sign? This is saying that you are saying Micah is going to initial, and I'm going to drag and drop this with my mouse next to his name, and this means Micah initials here. Okay, so all I did with my mouse was grab an initial field, drag it down to where I want him to initial, and then I let go. It's not a one-time chance, so you can always move this around. It's kind of like a floating tab. And so my recommendation is to grab the right hand side, and you can always stretch it as large as you need it and as small as you want it. All right. You don't have to worry about the text, the box blocking any text, because just like a pen, the box will disappear and only the pen will remain. Yeah. And so the general rule of thumb in eSign is that the size of the word initial is about the size of the person's initials. So make it as large as you need it or as small as you want it. So I'm just going to put it right there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is now I have Micah initialing here. I need to now change my participant to Tip to tell the eSign assistant saying, hey, now I want you to tell Tip to sign at the bottom on the signature line. And so just for an example, I'm going to show you real quickly. I'm going to drag and drop the signature field for Tip here. So essentially what I did was say Tip signs here. Why I'm showing you them next to each other is that what you'll notice is when you have a certain person selected, any fields that belong to that person are shown as a solid blue color. And as you can see, this one has become transparent. This is a way that the eSign service tells you, hey, uh, this field does not belong to the person you have selected. So if I say, change this to back to Micah, they then swap. Yeah. So I'm going to change back to Tip. I'm going to right click delete because I actually want him to sign here at the bottom. Yeah. So I'm going to drag and drop a signature for field for him down here. Same thing, resize it. The size of the word signature is generally the size of the person's signature. Okay. So essentially now you can see that any of your documents can be e-signable. All you're doing is uploading them and you're just dragging and dropping fields saying where you want each person to sign. And that's simply all it takes for you to get a document e-signed. So if you don't need anything else, if you don't have multiple signature lines, if you do, you just keep drag and drop as many as you need. That's all you need to do. Okay. And so I think for this basic training, we can also include one last item. Most commonly used with the signature, we also have the date field. A lot of you want to have dates, right? So one field over in the signer info fields tab, you'll see a date function. Now this field works the same thing with your participant. Whoever you drag and drop this field down on, it belongs to that person. So if I drag and drop a date field, what that means is when Tip comes to sign this document, the system will automatically date it for him the day that he comes to sign. But if you also want a date field for Micah, you got to make sure you change to Micah first and then drag and drop a date field for him as well. Okay. Looks like we have some questions. So on Skype, we have a question called, so eSign automatically converts any document to PDF, right? Yes, Gian, that's correct. All documents, once they're uploaded to eSign, no matter what format, once it's signed, it is converted to a PDF and sent back to you as a PDF format. Now the reason for that, and I'll explain after we get this signed, is all eSign documents will be locked in the state that they are signed to protect your document integrity, meaning to make sure that no changes can be made to your document once it's been signed. And so that's a security element. We have another question from Kathleen. What is the difference between signature and signature block? Okay, so going back to the signature fields here, Kathleen noticed that we have signature, initials, and signature block. The signature block is not just the person's signature, but what it also is the person's email, and it appears directly right underneath their signature. So this isn't something that we use often here in the state, but for other uses, some persons like to use this because sometimes when people add their personal signature, it's kind of hard to read and you don't know who it belongs to. They put the email address so that they know whose signature that is. But most of the time, you're probably just going to use a regular signature field. So Kathleen, hopefully that answers your question. Okay. So without any other questions, we'll go ahead and move forward. So all we did just for review, we selected Micah, put an initial field and a date field for him, and then we selected Tip and we put a signature field and a date field for him as well. So let me just preload my Outlook in the background because I closed it, but I need to sign this. Okay. The last thing we're going to do is click the next button. This will actually normally say send if you are not signing this document, meaning once I click this, it actually should send to the first signer. But the reason why it says next is that because I'm already logged in and I identified myself as the first signer, it's actually telling me, hey, since you're here, you might as well initial this document because you're the first signer before we send it off to your boss. Yeah. So this is actually the identical signing screen that all of your signers will see, no matter what device they're using, no matter what browser they're using, whether it's iPad, laptop, desktop, Chrome, Safari, Internet Explorer, no matter, it will always look the same like this. And so essentially, they're allowed to read the document as so, right? And then what you'll see is this little start tab, which is kind of like the sign here tab, but because it's electronic, it follows you around, right? So it kind of follows me as I'm reading this. The start button now points upwards. Now you can notice the cool thing is now that we identify who signs where, I can't sign anywhere by mistake anymore. So if I wanted to sign on this line because that's where I thought I signed, it wouldn't happen that way. I would click the start button and it actually takes me straight to where I need to sign. So I have an initial field, and then you can see that the date field is automatically inputted without me being able to change it. That's just for convenience as well as security. You can also drag and drop a text field if you want the person to be able to date it themselves. So to add an initial, all I'm going to do is click here once, and then I have two options of how to add my signature. So it says ETA because it's eSign test account, but let's say I'm signing it off as Micah Huang. I would just simply type in MH for my initials, and it gives me an automatic handwritten font. Now, this is a legal and binding signature um, because we're using the eSign service. So even though you're not using a personal font, even though your person may not have a touch device, you can do it this way and it's totally fine. But if you do want to use your personal signature or initial, you can use the draw function as long as you have a touchscreen. So if you know you're using your iPhone or your Samsung or your tablet or you have a touchscreen laptop or something like that, you can grab a pen and actually draw in your signature. Or if you want to try, you can even use your mouse. So I would just draw in like whatever my signature looks like, and then that way I can add in a personal electronic signature. Just like farmers market or food truck, it's all the same. Yeah. And so once I've signed that, I have a button appear at the bottom saying click here to approve this document, and then that makes it officially e-signed. So we have a question here from Jimmy. Can the signee make changes to the text? So no, the all signers cannot modify any of the text inside the document. Now the reason for that is we treat eSign just as if it was a direct replacement of paper, right? So if you asked your boss to sign a piece of paper, a contract, they wouldn't be able to make changes. If they did have questions, they would have to, or if they did want to change the document, they would have to tell you, and then you would have to retype it and then reprint it. So same thing with eSign. I always advertise eSign as it's an identical replacement to paper, but while remaining paperless and being much more efficient. So Jimmy, hopefully that answers your question. We have another question from John saying, "What about an image as signature?" Yes, you can use a. So if you don't have a touchscreen, you can sign your signature on a piece of paper, scan it, and upload an image as your signature. But I actually don't recommend that, which is why I don't include it in my trainings. And the reason for that is all of us have different quality scanners, and sometimes if you don't do it in the right format, sometimes the white background doesn't disappear, and it's really not great. So I really advise using the type function or the draw function at most. Yeah. So you see the white box is covering my text, but don't worry, you'll see on the next screen that it disappears. Okay. So I'm going to click the click to approve button. Now my document is given back to my assistant and is now automatically sent to my boss named Tip. So you can see that the eSign service is now doing all the legwork for you. Your documents can now be sent electronically through your own assistant. So to showcase how this works, I'm going to open up my email address under Tip. So imagine me not as Micah anymore. Imagine me as my boss named Tip. So I come to work, I get an email from it's ETS test account, but essentially it's Micah. It would say your name. So it would say, Micah has sent you a document. Please sign form ABCD. And so they get an email and it simply says, click here to review and sign this document, right? So I'm just going to copy this link and open it in a different browser just to show you that no matter what browser you're using, it will all look the same. So I'm going to try this in Firefox. Okay. Last browser I was using was Chrome. Okay. So your boss is going to click that link. It's going to automatically open in whatever browser that they have as default. And you can now see in here, I got Micah's initial with the box gone, and with the data as well. And so I get the same start bar. I click start, goes right down in here, and then I click here to click the sign button. So it literally tells me click here to sign this document. So I click here and I'm given the same option. So let me type my name as Tip Smith, and that is now my official e-signature, and I can click to sign this document. So once a document is signed, your signer automatically receives a copy in their email, as well as you automatically receiving a copy in your email. So opening my Outlook, he already got his copy back in here. And oh shoot, it's not going to come to my email because I'm not using my account. That's right. Um, so we can just pull it up from Tip's email, but I'll show you what an e-sign document looks like. Okay. So it's opening up in Acrobat. Here's my official e-sign document. And so it's now in PDF form. It's got the certification bar here at the top, which makes it locked and secured. Meaning, even if I click edit because I have Acrobat Pro, it says this document's been signed and cannot be edited. So we protect your document integrity, meaning once it's signed, rest assured, anytime you receive an e-sign document with the certification bar at the top, you don't have to worry about it ever being manipulated in any way because there's a protection over it. Now, okay. And so then at this point, what I would do is save my document electronically, which now means I can now keep all of my forms electronic. And it's much easier to find things in electronic form than having to print and file it in paper. So any questions so far? I know that was a big bit. Any questions? Hopefully that seems pretty straightforward and pretty easy for everyone to follow. How long will be this lecture? You can feel free to leave at any time, but I think the basic training should be no more than 5 more minutes. Yeah, yeah, okay. So the question, for those of you joining YouTube, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Someone on Skype asked, are we gonna go over saving things like that? So, and also how long the training will be. So I try to keep all of these web-based trainings to no more than 30 minutes. I know we've reached the 30-minute mark, but the basics 101 can be a little bit longer just because there's it's the basic. Try to make sure you get off to a good start here. And so the last thing I'm going to show you part of the basic training is how to save this document. So all of your documents are emailed back to you to your email. Now, the only thing that you need to learn when saving a document is it's like saving any other electronic document, except the reason why I show you this saving portion is that I actually advise you do not want to save it on my desktops or my documents. Now, the reason for that is if you save it there, but you retire or you leave your job or your hard drive crashes, things like that. All of your documents that are saved in my desktop, my documents will disappear because they're not backed up. And so, just like how we file paper documents in file cabinets around our office, you want to mirror that same process by saving it in a departmental shared folder. So you guys have something called like a U drive or a G drive or whatever letter drive you guys call it. You want to save it there because it's private to the world but public to your department, just like a filing cabinet. And so if you're ever worried about, who has access, you can always ask your IT saying, hey, who has access to the shared drive, or can you make me a folder that only my office can access? And so your IT should be able to help you with that. And so that's the only part I need to advise to you in training is that you want to save it in a shared drive because departmental servers are probably backed up or normally backed up on a daily basis. And if you don't have a departmental drive, part of your Office 365 license, you also have 1 terabyte of OneDrive storage, which is cloud-based storage, which is also another great place to store it as well. So whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever your department decides to agree on, please follow that policy or that procedure. Okay. So other than that, I think that's pretty much it for basic training. Tomorrow we have, I don't remember what topic we have for tomorrow. Tomorrow under the daily web training series, we have what can you do in your manage tab. So this will be a next good step for those of you who are still brand new. After you send out your document, tomorrow will be about talking about how can you manage it. Things like tracking documents, replacing signers, retracting them, reminding people that you sent them stuff to eSign. So please feel free to join that as well. But that's all I have for today. Thanks for jumping into the training. If anybody has questions, I'll stick around for a little bit. But other than that, thank you for joining.